Hey, if you like my content, please consider subscribing, drop a like on my video, and share it on social media. Thanks.
So I saw Cuties, and it's a terrible movie. Don't watch it. And I say that not because I think that you should not watch the movie because it's inappropriate or anything. That's neither here nor there. I think the movie is just awful. It was boring. It was stupid, and it was poorly made. It could not keep my interest. I stopped watching base. I didn't really stop. I mean, I left it on and I was kind of doing other stuff right here in front of the video screen where I was watching it, but I wasn't focused on the movie 100% for like the second half of the film. It's really bad. The inappropriateness of it, I mean, I guess there was some. I didn't really notice that it was really over the top. There was some definitely, but I didn't really notice that it was like outrageous. Like, oh my gosh, we're just like these little girls are being exploited or anything. That must just be me because everybody else is up in arms. But I remember very vividly what it was like to be 11, and we would laugh at butts and boobs and you know the boys' dangly parts. We would call them nards or nads when I was that age. We'd all laugh about it. It was funny stuff. It was funny. So I mean, I just think I remember being that age, and if I would look at that, I would be like, okay, that's funny. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's the fact that I had reproductive ed when I was 12. I was in grade school when it happened. Most of my classmates were 11. I didn't have parents who were supportive of my formal education, so I was behind a year. Maybe it's because of shows like Silk Stockings. If you're old enough to remember that show, it's from the 90s. It started in 1991. But they would depict people being intimate right there on the screen. In the show, it was all about, people seducing each other and killing, somebody killing the other and stuff like that. It was a cop show about solving those types of crimes. But yeah, you'd see people right there. They'd have a blanket like over their waist area. That would be about it. Things used to be much more open in that regard when I was younger. On TV and film, there's a lot less human intimacy depicted in general, I think, these days. And I think it has to do with the fact that the proliferation of that sort of thing to a much greater degree, much more exhibitionist degree on the internet, right? You can get that sort of stuff on the internet pretty easily, pretty inexpensively, free in many, many cases. So it's there. It's so easy to get now that it doesn't have to be on mainstream TV shows, I think is what has happened. I don't know. Maybe it's backlash from the community. Anyway, I can see where it's not. Parents aren't upset that children might watch this. They're upset that adults are watching this and the children are being exploited in the film. I I suppose maybe a little bit. There's no real nudity. I don't. There may be like wearing skimpy outfits, but there's no actual nudity. So the film should be boycotted because it's terrible, not because of the inappropriateness of it. I would say more than that. It's a bad movie more than anything, and it would not have gotten any kind of recognition if it hadn't been risque, so to speak. So, I don't. I'm not getting like the biggest connection there that it seems to be like out there, and the rest of everybody else is like all up in arms. I'm like, yeah, maybe a little bit, but not. It's not terrible, not terribly over the top with its inappropriate portrayal of these girls. So moving on from that, so I came across this article here. The Bachelor's Abby Chatfield makes an extraordinary claim that 40% of men are pedophiles. It says the same thing right here. She did it on Thursday. In an Instagram post, 24-year-old made the bold statement, 40% of men are pedos. I've been saying for weeks nay, months, that 40% of men like kids. I don't know who this person is. She, I suppose she has even features, but I'm not attracted to her. Effing quote me. Maybe it's 40% of men in power. Maybe it's 40% of white men in power. Oh yeah, it's just everything is the fault of white men, don't you know? And I'm going to address that in a little bit here. Maybe it's 40% of celebrities. Okay, that covers men and women. I don't know what this woman's problem is. She says when a male follower asked Abby why she was so cynical, she claimed in another Instagram story, because I would say at least half of the women I know have a story about a man 15 years older than them messaging them when they were a teenager. Okay, well, teenager can mean a lot of things. It can mean 19. 19. In the United States, we consider 19 an adult. We consider 18 an adult. Those are both teenaged, 18 and 19. What does this mean? 17, 16, 15, 14, 13? Be more specific, please. I believe in her post, I think she said like 14 or 15 actually is what it came down to. But I don't have all that information. And it goes on to just talk about her career or whatever. Well, let's take a look here. We have to decide what is actually, an adult. And that's going to be different based on where you live. This is the United States. Let's look at by country. Why not? In Albania, it's 14. How about down here in Angola? 12. 12 is not even a teenager. These are ages of consent. Look at Afghanistan. There's no age given. Just must be married. So if you're 4 years old, it's fine. Down here in Bahrain, it's 21. That's definitely an adult here, according to the United States. 21. You got a lot of 14s. I see a lot of 14s, a lot of 16s. There's a 13 in Africa. Another 13 in Comoros. Yeah. So there's ages all over the place. Look, here's another one. Iran must be married. So, yeah, doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter. It's just whether or not you're married. Again, in Kuwait, must be married. In Libya, must be married. In the Maldives, must be married. 21 is the highest one I've seen. I've not seen anything higher than 8. Oh, here's one that's 19 in I don't know how to say that. Oceania. It's in Oceania. You have to be. Oh, here's an 11 in Nigeria. So the highest I've seen besides 21 is 19. There's a bunch of must be marrieds, which those are scary because I don't know how old the person is who's in that situation. I mean, if it's a boy, that's going to be difficult for him to. I mean, he's going to be waiting for a reactive response somehow. I don't. Here's a 20 in South Korea. And that's the end of the list. So you see here in other countries, you can be really young. If it's a must be married country, you can be. We saw an 11 was the youngest. Otherwise, 11 is really dang young. Really young. Why don't we look at the United States? I found this chart here. This chart seems to be less accurate than Wikipedia. I don't know for sure though, because we know how Wikipedia is set up. But here's Wikipedia. We have some different categories here: limited by relationship, limited by age, and unlimited. So these things, the age not exceeding a certain amount is limited by age, and then if it's an actual relationship, like they're trying to date each other, that's a different story than if it's just like two people hooking up. You got a lot of 18s, a lot of 17s, a lot of 16s on this list over here. I'm just looking over here. This far right column is the unlimited, so it's just whatever, however you want to engage in the relationship. Look at this down here. Washington, 21. However, on the other end of the spectrum, 12. So how does this work? Maybe it's because you can be 16 to have it in a relationship. So 16 and a 12-year-old. That's, these are all different. So define this term that you're using. You're saying it's a 14-year-old. These 29-year-olds are coming on to 14-year-olds. Okay. Now we have a basis to go on. But let me ask you this, Abby, and everybody listening to this in the United States, in the Western world. How many 15-year-old girls make it to 16 with their innocence intact? It's okay because the boy was 16, or he was 15, or he was 14, or he was 17. How is that okay? But he's 18. It's not okay. He's 19. It's not okay. Yeah, that's just the question I'm throwing out there. I don't have the answer to it. Maybe you do. If you do, put it in the comments. I'd like to know. I'd like to know what the difference is. Now, she said, maybe it's 40% of white men. Anybody out there, obviously you're not going to respond because this is a video, but do you know the age of the youngest mother? I do. I've known for many, many years. It was told me by somebody once. It was a Peruvian girl, and I mean the word girl sincerely, because she was 5 years old. Here she is, 1939, Lena Medina. She was 5.5. She had a cesarean section at age 5.5. Think that 5.5-year-old girl was out there seducing men? Do you think she had any contact of white men? Do you think that she in 1939 even knew at 5 years old that there were people that were white? I'm not joking, because I know people who were in Asia, Americans who were in Asia during Vietnam, and they came across Asians who didn't even know white people were a thing. So this little girl here, this 4-year-old girl, was mistreated by somebody who was an adult male in a horrible way. But no, it's white men. They're the problem. Don't you know? They're the ones who are causing all this to happen. It's disgusting. Think that you want to blame all your problems on men, on white men. So yeah, Abby, define your terms, and then we can talk. But I'm looking at these numbers here, and you can't really do that, because you see, if say a 31-year-old man, you take 15-year difference. 31-year-old man in Indiana, in Iowa, in Kansas, in Maine, in Hawaii, in Georgia, Mississippi. That's a lot of places. Let's look at the by country, because you know what we did not look up, we did not see on here, is the country she's from. She's from Australia. Let me see if I can find Australia on here. I don't think this is. Oh, it is in alphabetical order, is it? It is. It's in alphabetical order. Australia, 16. 16 is not an adult. Not in the United States. It's considered a child. But that's legal in your country. So how is that inappropriate, as you say? No, maybe she thinks that doesn't matter, and anybody under the age of 18 is being abused by anyone over the age of 18 if they have that sort of relationship, sort of intimate relationship. But the law says differently in most cases. So, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you if you were saying that, hey, this is what I'm saying. This is just a fact. But she seems like she's complaining about it. And it's in many cases, in many countries, it's legal even if you think it's inappropriate. I don't know. what to say other than we look at the stats right here on the screen. I don't know what to tell you, Abby. Figure out what you're talking about, and then we can have a discussion. Thanks for watching.